3 years ago, I let my girlfriend move in. I thought we were building a life together. I had no idea she was also building a narrative, one where I was the villain. At first, it was subtle. A joke here, a side comment there. By the time her friends started calling me controlling, I didn't even know what she'd told them. It all came crashing down the night she whispered the truth, while I was asleep. My name's Eric, and for a long time, I thought I had a communication problem. Not with the world. I'm a software consultant. I can hold a meeting, run a team, crack a joke. No, the problem was at home. With Olivia. She always said I misunderstood her tone, that I projected my issues onto innocent comments. And maybe I believed her, because when someone tells you you're the problem often enough, eventually, you stop arguing. You internalize. You adjust. I met Olivia at a networking mixer in Austin. She was loud, magnetic, too smart for most of the guys circling her like flies. She had this uncanny way of making every sentence sound like it had a secret punchline, like you were in on something no one else got. I fell hard. And fast. She moved in after 6 months. Said she hated her roommate, loved my cooking, and needed a sanctuary for her writing. I was flattered. That's how it started, with flattery. Little compliments spliced between her chaos. She'd leave laundry everywhere, but say she admired my structure. She'd rant for hours, but call me her calm center. I didn't realize I was being conditioned. The first signs were so small they felt beneath mention. At a dinner party, she joked, "Eric won't let me touch the thermostat. He's got spreadsheets for room temperature." Everyone laughed. I laughed too. Later, I told her it made me uncomfortable. She rolled her eyes and said, "Oh, come on. They know I'm kidding. You're not actually upset, are you?" That became a pattern. She'd say something, a jab masked as a joke, and I'd try to talk about it, and somehow, I was always overreacting. Her friends started echoing her phrases. "Classic Eric," they'd say. "Bet he's got a rule for this too." The jokes spread like smoke. Invisible, invasive, impossible to trace back. I began doubting myself. At some point, Olivia stopped asking if I was okay. She just told people I wasn't. I'd find out from third parties. Her coworker once pulled me aside and said, "I heard about your little mood swings. Hope things are stable now." I just nodded, numb, because I didn't even know what story she'd sold this time. But I didn't confront her. I wanted to be fair. I wanted to believe the best. That maybe I'd been distant. That maybe she vented things in private that weren't supposed to be taken seriously. That she needed support, not scrutiny. Still, something festered. I started keeping a journal. Not because I expected to use it, but because I needed to remind myself what was real. What I actually said. What I actually did. I kept voice notes too. Part of me felt ashamed, like I was spying in my own home. But another part of me whispered, "She's rewriting things. You need a backup." I didn't know how right I was. Little did I know, everything was about to change. It started with a sound. Not a crash. Not a scream. Just a whisper. Soft. Careless. Cruel. It was 2:13 a.m. on a Thursday. I remember because I'd woken up groggy, dehydrated, with the taste of melatonin still clinging to the back of my throat. Olivia's side of the bed was empty, which wasn't that unusual. She sometimes stayed up late writing, or scrolling, or venting to her friends on WhatsApp about how insufferable I'd been that day. That last part I'd only learned later. At first, I thought the noise was coming from her phone, some voice message playing. But it was live. She was speaking. I got up, walked barefoot down the hall. Her voice was low, but audible. I peeked around the corner. She was in the kitchen, AirPods in, pacing like she was performing for an invisible audience. One hand on her hip, the other cradling a glass of wine. Her laptop was open beside her, facing away. I couldn't see who she was talking to, but I heard what she said. I mean, I could say anything at this point. He never remembers. Just keeps smiling like some sad golden retriever. She laughed. Not a chuckle, a sharp, vicious sound. The kind that makes your stomach clench before your brain catches up. Her next words were slower, intentionally spaced. No one would believe him if he tried. I didn't move. Something in me froze, not out of fear, but recognition. Like walking into a room and realizing someone's been talking about you, and you're just a beat too late to pretend you didn't hear it. Then she said something else. Something that cracked the floorboards under me. I told Jenna he shoved me. Not hard. Just enough. She believed it. She said it like she was proud. Like she'd landed a punch. My mouth went dry. I backed away quietly, heart pounding in my chest like it wanted to warn me. Don't react. Don't show yourself. You're not supposed to hear this. I went back to bed. Not because I forgave it. Not because I was calm. But because I needed to think. And I couldn't do that standing in the hallway, in the dark, wearing nothing but boxers and betrayal. I stared at the ceiling until morning. At 7:41 a.m., she slid back into bed, kissed my shoulder, and said, "You slept like a rock." I mumbled something. Maybe yeah, maybe nothing. My mind was screaming. Not just from what I'd heard, but from the implications. The timeline. The comments. The cold shoulders from her friends. The way my sister asked me last month, "Hey, you'd tell me if something was going on, right?" Suddenly, it all connected. She wasn't venting. She was curating, building a character profile for me. One where she was the resilient, creative woman trapped in a passive-aggressive relationship with an emotionally unavailable control freak. And the worst part? I'd given her all the material. Not because it was true, but because I'd trusted her with every quiet part of me. But that was just the beginning of my nightmare. The next morning, I moved like a ghost. Not in some melodramatic way, just careful, quiet, calculated. Olivia, meanwhile, was chipper. She made French press coffee, wore my hoodie like a trophy, and hummed her way through scrambled eggs like she hadn't dropped a verbal grenade 6 hours earlier. I watched her, not angrily, not even sadly, just clinically, like observing a subject in an experiment I didn't know I was part of. She asked if I was okay. I nodded. "Nightmares again?" she asked, squeezing my shoulder. I almost laughed. She always used that. His memory's unreliable. He dreams things, confuses stuff. It was subtle gaslighting, disguised as concern. I said, "Yeah, bad one." Her smile was immediate. Too immediate. Relief, maybe. Or confirmation. After she left for her morning yoga class, I opened her laptop. I'd never done that before. Not once. Not even when she joked about having too many exes to archive. But now I had context. And context changes everything. I didn't dig deep. Just recent tabs. Her messaging app was still open. A group chat labeled Witch's Coven. Of course. Jenna, Camille, Sophia, Olivia. All women I'd met. All women who now barely looked at me. I scrolled. Not too far, just enough to land on a message from 2 nights ago. "Olivia." He started crying again. It's honestly pathetic. Like, get a grip. No emojis. No LOL. Just that. The date matched the evening we'd talked about my mom. How I felt like I was losing her slowly to dementia. Olivia had hugged me that night. Whispered, "You're so strong for opening up." And then posted that in her coven chat. My chest tightened. Not rage. Not even betrayal. Just that hollow, pressurized feeling you get when reality and memory don't line up. It wasn't just about what she said. It was about the performance. The doubling. The fact that nothing was sacred. That even my grief had been content. I closed the laptop. My hands were shaking. I needed air. Outside, the morning was bright and wrong. Birds chirped too cheerfully. A neighbor waved. I waved back, wondering what he thought of me. Wondering what Olivia had told him. Wondering who else believed her curated version of me. The boring, controlling, emotionally unstable man-child who couldn't take a joke. The worst part was, I knew I couldn't prove any of it yet. I needed more. So I did what I never thought I'd do. I started recording. Not her. Me. Every night, I left my phone recording near the bed. Just in case. I'd say nothing. Just let it run. Because Olivia liked late-night wine chats, and apparently, late-night rewrites of my character. It made me feel like a lunatic. Like some paranoid sitcom husband hiding microphones. But this wasn't TV. This was my life. And every day I said nothing. More people slipped quietly into her version of events. That night, I hit record at 11:47 p.m. And what it captured confirmed my worst fears. I listened to the recording the next morning before Olivia woke up. My hands trembled as I hit play. I hadn't slept. Just stared at the ceiling again. Phone face down beside me like a bomb waiting to go off. The file was just over 2 hours long. The first 45 minutes were uneventful. The quiet hum of the fan, Olivia typing on her phone in bed, the occasional sip of wine. Then it shifted. There was a rustle, sheets moving, and her voice, hushed but clear. "He's still asleep. I swear." I could read his eulogy out loud, and he wouldn't stir. Pause. Then laughter. Not hers. Someone was on speaker. "You're awful," a female voice said. I didn't recognize it. Maybe Jenna. Maybe Camille. "Olivia, please." He thinks we're still healing from that stupid argument in April. Meanwhile, I've already outlined the exit strategy. Other voice, you're seriously leaving? Olivia, eventually. Just need to push the narrative a bit further. Right now, he's still rebuilding trust. Cute, right? My mouth went dry. I paused the recording, stared at the timeline, then resumed. Olivia, honestly, it's fun sometimes. Playing the sweet one. The patient girlfriend. Everyone eats it up. Meanwhile, I've got people lining up in DMs. Other voice, what if he finds out? Olivia, he won't. He can't. He's too afraid of being alone. That's what makes this work. He wants to believe the version I feed him. The words hit like cold water. Not just betrayal, degradation. Manipulation on a level I hadn't been willing to admit. Not until now. I let the file keep playing. She went on to mock my routines, my therapy sessions, even the way I sliced avocados. Like he's defusing a bomb, she'd said. They laughed. Again. Then came the final blow. Olivia, worst case scenario? If he starts pushing back, I've already got the sympathy network. Jen has seen my anxiety attacks. Camille thinks he's obsessive. I lay the groundwork months ago. No one's gonna believe him if this gets messy. I've made sure of that. I stopped the recording. And for the first time in months, I didn't feel crazy, or insecure, or confused. I felt clear. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't stress. Olivia wasn't venting. This was a campaign. An orchestrated character assassination carried out in whispers and emojis and wine-soaked one-liners. I'd been watching the house burn down, thinking it was my fault for not fixing the pipes. I looked over at her sleeping beside me, hair fanned out, mouth slightly open, one hand curled around my pillow like she owned the space. And for a second, I didn't recognize her. This wasn't the woman I fell for. This wasn't some flawed partner making mistakes. This was someone who saw me as a tool, a prop, a placeholder until her next version loaded. I got up. I copied the file to a private drive. I backed up my journal entries. I opened a secure folder and started assembling what I silently labeled Evidence Pack 1. Because suddenly, I wasn't just hurt. I was preparing for war, and I wasn't ready for what I was about to discover next. By the end of that week, I had 3 recordings, 2 folders of screenshots, and a sickening feeling that I still didn't know the full extent of it. So I took a risk. I reached out to Jenna. Not directly. She'd blocked me months ago, supposedly because I'd made her uncomfortable. That word again. So I emailed her from a new address. Short, calm, professional. You don't owe me anything. But if Olivia ever told you I hurt her, I just want to ask you to consider something. I have recordings. If you'd like to hear them, I'll send one. No drama. No confrontation. Just context. I didn't expect a reply. But 5 hours later, I got one. Send it. So I did. Just the part where Olivia talks about laying the groundwork and no one believing me. She didn't respond right away. But the next morning, at 9:18 a.m., I got a second message. I feel sick. That was all. But it cracked the facade. By noon, Camille messaged me on Facebook. We hadn't spoken in nearly a year. She started polite. I don't want to get in the middle of anything. But within 10 minutes, she was asking questions. Serious ones. Apparently, Olivia hadn't just crafted a version of me. She'd used that version to bond with people. Recruited them into her support network. He's not abusive, just exhausting, was one phrase she'd repeated. But she'd gone further. She'd told her Patreon followers, the ones who paid monthly for her essays and live chats, that she was surviving emotional suppression, that she was healing from gaslighting. She'd even written a blog post titled Rewriting Myself While Someone Sleeps Next to Me. And I was the someone. I found it archived. Password protected. But Camille had access. She sent me the PDF. Reading it was like watching a car crash in slow motion where I was both driver and bystander. Olivia had taken pieces of our actual life, the grief, the therapy, the quiet routines, and twisted them into symbols of control. She described me as cold, emotionless, calculating. She even referenced the avocado comment, like it was proof of my pathology. But the comments were worse. People thanking her, praising her bravery. One woman wrote, "You just described my ex exactly. Took me years to break free." Another said, "It's always the quiet ones. Stay strong." She had hundreds of hearts, dozens of monthly subscribers, a following built on a villain she sculpted out of my personality. And suddenly, I realized, I wasn't just hurt. I wasn't just betrayed. I was monetized. My pain had become her platform. And if I pushed back, she'd spin it as proof. The paranoid man who couldn't handle an empowered woman finding her voice. The fragile ego lashing out at critique. I couldn't afford a wrong move. I couldn't even look reactive. Because she wasn't just gaslighting me anymore. She was narrating me. In real time. For an audience. This went so much deeper than I thought. I didn't sleep much after that. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw words on a screen that weren't mine. Stories where I was the villain, the abuser, the red flag women are warned about in group chats and empowerment seminars. And Olivia? She slept soundly, dreamless, untouched. That contrast nearly broke me. Part of me wanted to confront her, corner her in the kitchen, play the audio, shove the printed blog post in her face, and demand an explanation. Not even to win, just to see if she'd flinch. But another part, the smarter part, said wait. Because Olivia wasn't just reckless. She was rehearsed. If I blew up now, I'd give her the footage. The story. Eric lost it when I tried to talk. She'd cry to Jenna. She'd post about how hard it is when survivors try to hold their partners accountable. She already had the followers. The tone. The hashtags. No, I needed to be exact. So I started documenting everything. Voice notes. Timestamp screenshots. I even re-downloaded apps I deleted months ago, hoping to find archived chats, deleted posts, metadata traces. I built a timeline. I compared it to her blog entries. Matched dates. Matched moods. Matched lies. And something else started forming. It wasn't just about me. Olivia did this before. Or something like it. One of her older Patreon posts referenced a winter with Jack. Vague. Poetic. But I found a tagged Instagram post from 2019. Jack was real. A soft-looking guy who painted watercolors and liked her tweets for a year straight before vanishing from her feed. I searched him. Found a blog, the kind quiet. A single entry. Some people don't lie to hurt you. They lie to survive the version of themselves they created for you. That sentence gutted me. Because I saw myself in Jack. And I saw Olivia in every line of that blog post. Just swapped for new colors. A new story. A new man to narrate. That's when I knew. This wasn't personal. This was a pattern. Still, knowing that didn't make it easier. There were nights I stared at her across the dinner table, watching her laugh at something on her phone, and felt a grief I couldn't name. Not just for the version of her I'd loved, but for the version of me I'd lost inside this relationship. The one who didn't record things. The one who trusted instinctively. The one who thought love was supposed to be safe. I wanted that man back. So I made a decision. No confrontation. Not yet. I'd gather everything. Map it out. Let her dig her own grave, with timestamps and witnesses and context. And when it was time, I'd flip the narrative. Because she wasn't the only writer in this story. I spent sleepless nights planning. Finally, I knew what I had to do. The opportunity came sooner than I expected. Olivia was hosting a live-stream Q&A for her Patreon members, a vulnerability night, she called it. I knew the format. Candles, acoustic background music, soft lighting, strategically placed mugs to suggest intimacy and safety. It was all performance. Always had been. That night, I left work early. Told her I was meeting a client for dinner. She barely looked up from her prep, too focused on adjusting her lighting ring and testing angles on her phone. I kissed her cheek before leaving and said, "You're going to be amazing." And I meant it, just not in the way she thought. I didn't actually go out. I parked a few blocks away and waited for the notification. She always posted a reminder on Instagram when she went live. At 8:04 p.m., it popped up. I went home. Quietly. I already knew where she'd set up. The corner of the living room near the bookcase. Fairy lights behind her. Throw pillows framing the scene. Her AirPods would muffle most sounds, and she never locked the door when she was live. I stepped in at 8:11. She didn't notice me. Not at first. I stood in the hallway, listening. And I think a lot of us have been in situations where we're made to feel crazy. Like our pain doesn't matter. Like we're too emotional, too much, too loud. Chat bubbles floated up on the screen. Hearts. Emojis. Applause. But I just want to say, if you've ever felt like your story didn't matter, I see you. I was you. That was my cue. I moved forward, slowly, silently. Just far enough to step into the frame. Behind her, out of focus, unmistakable. She didn't notice at first. But the chat did. Is someone behind you? Wait, is that your boyfriend? OMG LOL, he looks mad AF. This feels tense. She turned and froze. It was one of the few genuine expressions I'd ever seen on her face. Not fear. Not guilt, just exposure. Like a magician caught mid-trick with the wires showing. I didn't say a word. I held up my phone, opened the voice memo app, tapped the last file, hit play. No one would believe him if he tried. Her face went pale. The chat exploded. WTF? Did she say that? Wait, is this a joke? I'm uncomfortable. She lunged forward, slapped the laptop closed, knocked over her mug. The live stream cut out. I turned and walked out the door. No yelling. No demands. No, you betrayed me. That wasn't the plan. The plan was exposure. Quiet, public, irreversible. And for a moment, I felt powerful. Vindicated. Like I'd reclaimed something sacred. But the next morning, she posted a video. Crying. Shaking hands. Talking about how trauma makes people lash out. How sometimes, even the most empathetic partners have breaking points. How someone she loved violated her privacy to silence her truth. And once again, the narrative shifted. I thought it was over. I couldn't have been more wrong. Fast. Comments flooded in. You don't deserve this. Stay strong. Men will always twist the truth to protect themselves. This is why women stay silent. We believe you. I stared at the screen, jaw clenched, pulse pounding. Not because she posted it. I expected that. But because it worked. The sympathy machine activated on autopilot. She lost no followers. If anything, she gained more. New subscribers. More PayPal donations. Influencers reposting her reel with slow piano music and captions like, "Support survivors." No questions asked. No one asked about the audio. No one asked about the context. Because context requires effort, and tears are easier to digest. By 10 a.m., I was getting messages. Not support. Threats. Anonymous accounts. People calling me abuser. Manipulator. Coward. One even posted my work email under a thread titled, "Expose him." Someone reported me to HR. By noon, I was in a video call with my manager and someone from legal. They were calm, but the subtext was clear. We're not accusing you. But this is public, and it reflects on us. I didn't sleep that night. Olivia did. She barely looked up from her phone as I packed a bag. Said something about needing space. I didn't respond. I couldn't. Every muscle in my body was working just to hold it together. At 2:14 a.m., I got a message from Camille. She blocked me. I spoke out in the comments and she deleted it. This isn't just damage control. She's escalating. She wasn't wrong. The next morning, Olivia posted again. This time from a friend's apartment. All white walls and throw blankets. She didn't mention me directly, but the message was clear. Sometimes, leaving isn't safe. Sometimes, telling your story makes you a target. She tagged a women's legal advocacy group, and they responded. They offered her pro bono consultation. I recognized the name of the lawyer. She'd done a TED Talk about survivor narratives and truth in storytelling. I watched it all unfold from the guest room of a friend's apartment. Powerless. Not because I lacked evidence. I had folders of it. But because I was now reactive. She had the first word. The camera. The tears. And I was just a guy with files. The public had chosen a protagonist. And it wasn't me. What happened next made me question everything. Not just my strategy, but my entire idea of what truth even was in the internet age. I hit bottom on a Tuesday. That sounds dramatic, I know. But when your name is floating around abuse survivor hashtags, when your inbox is flooded with hate mail, when your own sister texts, "Just tell me you didn't actually hurt her," there's nowhere left to go but down. I sat in the guest room of Mark's apartment, the only friend who still spoke to me, staring at a blinking cursor. A folder full of recordings. A spreadsheet of timelines. A carefully documented record of the truth. And no idea what to do with it. I wasn't naive. I knew public opinion doesn't care about truth. It cares about timing, emotion, optics. Olivia had all three. I had evidence. And silence. At one point, I opened the recording again. The one from that night, the original one. I replayed her voice, the way she laughed, the deliberate cruelty in her phrasing. He never remembers. I could say anything at this point. It didn't hurt this time. It clarified. Because something shifted in me. Not rage. Not revenge. Resolve. I realized. This isn't about clearing my name. This is about telling my story before someone else finishes writing it. So I wrote. Not a Reddit post. Not a tweet. Not a messy Facebook rant her followers could screen grab and twist into proof of instability. I built a blog. Simple, clean layout. A single landing page. Title in black sans serif font. The version you haven't heard. I embedded the recordings, the timeline, screenshots, her blog post, her live stream clip, everything with context, everything sourced. I wrote my side, calmly, no caps, no insults, no dramatics, just facts, dates, quotes, gaps between her words and reality. I didn't ask for sympathy. I didn't even mention her name. Just told the truth, the real truth. At the bottom, I added a single note. If you choose not to believe me, that's your right. But at least now, you've heard both sides. If you're going to pick a villain, make sure you've read the full script. I scheduled the post for midnight. Not because I expected anything. I assumed it would die in the void, buried under more viral reels and polished vulnerability performances. But at least it would exist. At least my version would be there. And for the first time in months, I felt something strange. Not peace. Not relief. But weight, shifting. I wasn't healed. I wasn't safe. But I wasn't hiding anymore either. I realized what I had to do. To end this once and for all. I didn't expect it to spread. I really didn't. I posted the blog at 12:01 a.m., went to bed by 12:30. Woke up at 7:10 to 38 unread messages and a phone hotter than a skillet in July. The post had 11,000 shares by morning. Strangers were piecing things together in real time, matching Olivia's Patreon timeline to my screenshots. Cross-referencing dates. One user pulled metadata from her audio clips. Another tracked down the source of her healing essay and noted it mirrored a Medium article from 2016, nearly word for word. And then it hit Reddit. A post titled, "Influencer builds a brand on her boyfriend's abuse, but he kept receipts." It exploded. Not everyone believed me, of course. Some still called me manipulative. Some said I faked the audio. But enough people looked. Enough asked questions. And most importantly, enough of her audience listened. By noon, Olivia's comment sections were chaos. Why did you lie about the dates? Care to explain that he won't remember audio? You said he never let you cry, but there's a full video of him comforting you while you mocked him later in chat. And then, the real fracture. Camille posted a thread. Screenshots, voice messages, DMs Olivia had sent months ago, bragging about how narrative is everything. She admitted to weaponizing anxiety. Called me a useful prop. Camille didn't even tag Olivia. She didn't have to. That same day, the legal advocacy group untagged her. By sunset, brands pulled back. A jewelry sponsor dropped her. A Women in Media panel removed her name from their fall schedule. And then, Olivia went silent. No Instagram story. No grid posts. No carefully filtered tea mug shots. Just nothing. But I wasn't done. I emailed the lawyer who'd previously offered her help, the TED Talk one. Attached everything. I didn't ask for anything. Just said, I thought you should see the full story before lending your platform to hers. She responded with 2 words. Thank you. And just like that, the weight shifted again. I didn't feel victorious. I felt wrecked. But not by Olivia. By what it took to finally be heard. The truth hadn't saved me. The proof had. The files. The prep. The planning. It wasn't cathartic. It was exhausting. And part of me hated that this is what it took to be doubted, vilified, stalked, erased, just to finally be seen. A week later, Olivia posted a statement. A close-up selfie. Minimal makeup. No music. I'm stepping away to reflect. Some things were exaggerated. Some things were misunderstood. I never meant to hurt anyone, especially someone I once loved. She turned off comments. I didn't respond. Didn't message. Didn't gloat. Because she wasn't the point anymore. This was never about revenge. It was about getting my name back. And now that I had, I could finally let her go. It's been 5 months. The blog is still up, though I've stopped checking the traffic. It served its purpose. I don't need the metrics anymore. People still reach out. Some to apologize. Some to share their own stories. A few to challenge mine, politely mostly. I don't respond. Not because I'm bitter. Just because I've already said everything I needed to say. Olivia hasn't posted in weeks. Her Patreon is inactive. Sponsors didn't come back. The last time I checked, her Instagram was private and the follower count had dropped by more than half. I didn't cheer. I didn't celebrate. I just exhaled. Quietly, I moved to a new apartment. Smaller. No fairy lights. No throw pillows curated for Zoom calls. Just me, a dog I adopted named Jasper, and a space that doesn't try to be anything but real. I started therapy again. Not because of her. Because of what I let slide for so long. The early jokes. The second guessing. The silences I absorbed because I thought love meant tolerance and patience and being the rock. Turns out, rocks get eroded when you leave them out in the storm too long. I've learned to speak again. Not loudly, not to prove anything, but with clarity. When someone interrupts me, I pause and finish my sentence. When someone jokes at my expense, I say, that wasn't funny to me. When I feel something, I don't shove it down into some neat box labeled, not worth the fight. I unpack it. That's the real healing. Not the blog, not the clicks, not the so-called justice. Just remembering who I was before I became someone's character sketch. Because that's the danger, isn't it? Letting someone else narrate you long enough that you start forgetting your own voice. Letting them bend your memories until you doubt what you saw, what you said, what you meant. I won't let that happen again. Not out of fear, out of respect for myself. Some people asked why I didn't sue, why I didn't take legal action. I thought about it. I really did. But in the end, I realized the court I really needed to win in was me. And I did. I kept my sanity. I kept my truth. And I walked away. Not with vengeance. With freedom. Because sometimes, the most radical thing you can do isn't destroy the person who hurt you. It's to keep living in a way that proves they never broke you. If you've ever felt like someone hijacked your story, like they twisted your words, mocked your silence, or turned your pain into a performance, you're not alone. What happened to me wasn't rare. It just rarely gets documented this way. Most people don't record. Most people don't keep receipts. They blame themselves, like I did. They let it slide, until they're painted into someone else's fiction, and suddenly, the world claps for their abuser. But the truth? It has weight. Quiet weight. Slow weight. But once it drops, it stays. So if this story made you feel something, anger, clarity, reflection, share it. Talk about it. Not just for me. For anyone who's ever been turned into a villain for daring to exist quietly. And if you want more stories like this, the raw ones, the real ones, subscribe. I'll keep telling the truth, even if it shakes. Especially when it shakes. Thanks for watching.